All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name's Tom Miller, and with me always is my incredible teammate Lauren Waters, and we are Leaders Building Leaders, and we're just so blessed for this opportunity to be able to share what has become my favorite book, The 10 Indicators of High Performing Charter Schools, a book that I lived out and authored, and Lauren and I worked really hard to make sure it became a reality last year. So this is the third time we're leading this book study, which is fun. The more that we lead and the more new leaders we meet, the better we get and the more we learn from you. So if you haven't already, let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. Um, what's your role in education and whether you're a charter school principal, a private school principal, homeschool, district school, it's all good. We're all in this fight all together. We all want the same thing, right? The best school for our kids, and our zip code should never, determine what excellence looks like. Is what I always believe. Everybody can learn and deserves to learn in a high performing school. So, Lauren, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. My name is Lauren Waters, and I've been working with Tom at Leaders Building Leaders now for 4 years. And formerly, I worked at a charter school here in the Triangle area and started out with them year one of opening as a classroom teacher and held all kinds of various roles at the school until my final position there was the elementary dean of the elementary school. We were a K-12 school, so I was over the elementary, and we had someone over the middle, the high school, and then that executive director over all of us. But I have thoroughly enjoyed working with Tom at Leaders Building Leaders and having a larger impact in supporting so many charter schools, not only here in North Carolina, but we've now expanded into several other states and even countries. And that has just been amazing to be on this journey and getting to know you guys throughout the process. Oh, you're muted, Tom.
We've got some members from across the world, and we are like, wow, boy, if they join us live, it'll be midnight their time. So that's quite, dedication to make those things happen. So we're really excited to share with you what we've learned and a little bit about this study. It'll be 5 weeks long. Every morning, you will receive an email of a daily challenge. It's something that may take 3 to 5 minutes, could take 30 seconds, but it's something that we're going to just, have you consider doing that day that will help you put your school into a higher performing level over the next 30 days. And each Friday for the next 5 weeks, we will meet for an hour. We will archive all of our sessions and they'll be held on the Google Doc that is the actual book reading schedule. And we'll probably end up putting everything on a landing page to make it easy. But Lauren, can you make sure you drop the link to the schedule um, in the chat so everybody has it? I'll let Dana in, um, and then we'll get started here. All right. Perfect. So, first of all, congratulations. You're the smartest school leaders on the planet. We believe personally that investing in yourself and investing in your personal growth is always going to ensure two things happen. One, you live an empowered life, the life that you always dreamed of. And two, everybody around you will get better. Your school will improve, the performance of your students will improve because the performance of your leadership team and your teachers will improve. So that's a critical point. I just wanted to share how this book actually became a reality over a 10-year span, 13 years maybe. Uh, I drove over 400,000 miles in these two vehicles. I still own actually the Cross Tour. It's still rolling. Um, and it started off when I was hired as a member of the North Carolina Office of Charter Schools. And at the time, there was only three members of the Office of Charter Schools team. It was me, Joel Medley, Dottie Heath, and our front office admin. And we had 100 schools, and they had just eliminated the cap on charter schools in North Carolina. And now there's over 220, schools operating. Those first, couple of years, we had over 300 so applications, 70 schools getting approved in a very, very short time. In 2014, I started my own company to provide leadership training and consulting services for charter schools across the nation. And starting in 2020, I was the interim charter school, I was the interim executive director, excuse me, of 9 charter schools in 3 years. And it wasn't because I was terrible and I kept getting fired in a short term. It was because there was a lot of turnover after the pandemic, and a lot of charter schools needed help. So Lauren and I would go in with our team, and we would act as the leadership team for those schools, try to identify challenges and gaps, right the ship, and hire the next leader to move forward. And we also do board training. We've written charter school applications as well. So lots of experience from all different levels. I was also a board member for 6 years at a charter school in Raleigh. So what I want to share with you, what we've learned over the time, is a secret. So what if I told you that there's a secret to leading a high-performing charter school? It's a secret that separates all schools that thrive from those that survive. And it's not just about having a vision, right? Although vision is where everything begins, it's not just about having and executing a strategy, though a strong strategy gives that vision life. It's not about, tracking data and refining your approach. But that's actually how you achieve excellence. The real secret, what sets the most successful leaders apart, is learning how to combine these elements into a powerful, cohesive system. It's about having a crystal clear vision, supported by adaptive strategies that respond to the school's ever-changing needs. But most importantly, it's about building the credibility and the influence to inspire and mobilize your team, your board, and your community to achieve that overall vision. Now, that secret, it's not magic. It's strategic leadership. And strategic leadership, as I've learned over the last 20 years, it's not a title, it's not a set of tasks, it's a skill, it's a mindset, and it's a process that you can learn and develop. It's about connecting vision to action and action to results, all while empowering others to grow with you. And when I think about the greatest strategic leaders that I have worked with, I'm always struck by one defining characteristic. They're never, ever satisfied. They approach leadership with this constant sense of urgency, always striving to improve, to adapt and grow. And not because they're chasing perfection, but because they believe their schools, their teams, and their students always deserve their very best. These strategic leaders wake up every day with a deep awareness that success is never a destination, it's a journey. They don't see problems as obstacles, but as opportunities to adjust and grow. They listen, they learn, reflect, and make decisions that inspire others to follow them with confidence and trust. And you know what? Each one of you, you've got the potential to be one of those leaders. By embracing this secret, this blend of vision, strategy, and adaptability and influence, you can lead your schools to achieve extraordinary results. You can inspire your team to push past the limits and create a school that truly transforms lives. So as we dive into this book study, Lauren and I want to challenge you. Don't settle. Don't be satisfied. Don't be satisfied with good enough. Commit to the journey of high performance for your students, for your school, and yourself. And let's uncover that secret altogether, step by step, and start building a legacy where you were meant to lead. So by the end of these 30 days, this is our promise. This is a big promise, but this is our promise. You're going to have clarity in your vision and your strategies to achieve any goal you set. You'll have confidence in your strategy and your decision-making process. You're going to have a common tool for school performance evaluation and improvement. You're going to create a common language for school improvement with your team. You're going to have common goals and a consistent focus towards school improvement, a model to empower and delegate your team, fresh ideas and new perspectives and resources, and lots of templates to save time and energy. And we already have it. If you haven't downloaded it, and Lauren, you can put it in the chat, all all of the frameworks from all 10 indicators of high performance that Lauren and I have worked on are available to you. They're yours. You can use them any way you want. And each week, we will talk about them and how to use them. And we want you to tell us how they were useful or how they were not useful, because we don't want to give you a tool that's not successful. Okay? Sound fair enough? Give me a yes in the chat box if you appreciate those tools, um, or if you're with us.
Hey Tom, just
Mhm.
so you're talking about the resources, I will put the link in the chat, but I just put in the chat the book study schedule, and we have linked it at the top of that. So if
Oh,
you leave
perfect.
here today and you're like, where was that Google Drive link? Go ahead and add that reading schedule as a bookmark or add it to your Google Drive so you have a copy of it and you always have those resources
Yeah,
available.
perfect. Thanks, Lauren. Yeah,
Mhm.
and make a copy of, like we will make amendments to the schedule. That's where we'll link the archives, right? So just keep that bookmark, but you can pull down the resources now, and we'll probably add and keep on changing them. So it's up to you. We just asked you don't take anything out of the drive. You shouldn't be able to, but it's happened to me in the past where folks have actually taken things out, or they've used the school climate survey and I didn't turn it off, and all of a sudden we had multiple schools using the same school climate survey. So making a copy will always help you. So in the chat, so there's 7,800 charter schools nationally currently in operation. If you were to guess, what percent of those schools close in the first 3 years? Put it in the chat. What percent of charter schools do you think closed in the first 3 years? Now, these are the ones that actually physically opened, right? So don't think about maybe the ones that never even got their doors open, because that's a whole different number I'm not sure we could find. But what do you think it is?
We're seeing 50%, 15%.
Yeah, good. 50 and 15?
Yeah,
That's a team.
wide
Okay.
range,
That's it.
25%.
That's a big range. That's a big
Yeah.
range. Well, let's see. 18%. So 18% nationally close in the first 3 years. Now, each state has, different data. And I know we've got schools from, I know I saw North Carolina in here.
Sorry, Tom, I could not hear you. Can you please repeat your question, please? Thank you.
Yeah, was that Hannah? Hey, Hannah.
Tom, can you please repeat? Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. No, I was just asking what can you, I don't know if you can see the screen, but I was asking what percent of schools close in the first, 3 years, and 18% is the answer. So 18% of charter schools close in the first 3 years here in our country. Now, this doesn't include the schools that get approved and never open. Now, what about this? What percentage of schools close do you think after year 10? So they've been in operation for 10 years. What percentage of charter schools do you think close after year 10? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. It's 18% after year 3. What do we got, Lauren?
We got 15, 25, 3. So
Yeah, so
people
a
are
much
considering
smaller
much
number.
lower.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, you might be surprised, everybody. It's 40%. 4 out of every 10 schools close after year 10 of operation. Now you might be thinking, how is that possible? Give a hand up, or like, how's it possible? You would think at year 10, they're stable, they're known in the community, they've got, everybody knows who they are, they got a lot of students, they got a wait list, they know how to do school, they know how to operate. But the truth is, it's harder to keep the school operating at a high level the older it gets. And there's lots of reasons. And we'll talk about all of those over the next 5 weeks. In fact, I talked about all of them in the book if you have a copy, right? But the three top reasons, if you Googled it, these would be your answers. Financial reasons, right? So under enrollment, right? Lack of cash, lack of operations, fiscal mismanagement. This could be anything from fraud to just making really poor financial decisions, or academics. Most state authorizers have an academic criteria that they have to meet to be able to stay open. These are the three, but these might be the final reason, but it's not the true cause of the problem. It's not the true root, right, of why they ended up closing.
Yes, Tom, can I just contribute? If you allow me, can I say something?
Can you hold off a sec, Hannah? We'll have a chance for questions in a minute.
Mm.
All right. Or you can drop it in the
Okay.
chat. Yep.
Okay.
Strategic leadership is the answer, right? These schools that closed did not have consistent, sustainable, strategic leadership to move them forward. Now, and this is the big secret that we learned that I've already shared, right? This is the big secret we learned and shared. Strategic leadership is the key to leading a high-performing, sustainable charter school. So here's a question. What is your crystal clear definition of success at your charter school? Now, you don't have to answer it, right? But be thinking about it, screenshot it, whatever. What is your crystal clear definition of success at your charter school? Whether you're the leader of the school, you're a board member of the school, maybe you're a teacher at the school, right? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What will it take to get there? To be an effective strategic leader, you have the answers to these questions. You have clarity to these responses. Now, the second part of being a strategic leader is not only do I have a vision of what success will look like, but I also have the answer, how are you currently measuring that crystal clear definition of success? How are you currently measuring it? Okay, so I got to know where I'm going, and I got to know where I'm at. What's my current reality? And then last, I want you just to think about this, and this is where we can, participate here. And I'll take that question in a second. What are the consequences if you do not have those measurements in place? What's the consequences if you don't know currently how well you're performing as a school? So this is where, Lauren, let's take a couple of minutes. We can open up the chat while folks are thinking about the consequences. What's your question, Hannah?
No, I just wanted to just be a little verbal about whatever you said rather than writing it, because that would be a little bit more spontaneous and genuine. Because if I write it, it would take some time. See, you said that basically what is your one of your query was, what could be the worst scenario if the charter school do not work well and they do not perform and they do not function, and scenario could be multiple. But the basic thing is, when you invest in the resources, basically the human resource is the most important, because whatever AI is there, whatever finances are there, if the human resource is not managed properly, and basically the human resource is not only the teachers or the leaders, but basically the stakeholders, the students. Yes, you are
Sure.
dealing with real human beings. So what they go through, and their time, their money,
Yes.
their effort, and their faith, in
Yep.
that system, that is lost and that is gone. That is the biggest loss to me. But another thing is this,
Hey, Hannah,
when
hold
you
on a
invest
second.
for 10 years. Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah. You are right, and we will talk about that. That's indicator for sure, right? So I want to stick on
Yes.
point here. So you can always go back and listen to the recording, if you want to go back. But the consequences if you don't have the measurements in place, it's more than just human resources, Hannah.
Okay, you
Right?
are
Okay.
okay. You are
Yeah.
asking like if the strategic leadership is not in place, asking me that, because I have my internet was not working.
Yeah.
It is now right in place. Yes, yes. Please
Yeah.
tell me. Are you asking about that?
Yeah.
If the strategic leadership is not in place, so what could be the outcome of that? In
Yep.
terms of charter school, you're asking that, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. We will talk about that. Yep. All right. So what's the consequences if you don't, right? If you don't have those pieces in place, uh, financial, reputation, viability, and ultimately existence, right? So if you don't have a way to evaluate how well your school is performing, not just once a year, these aren't summative assessments, these are ongoing, continuous assessment processes. All right. So let's keep talking about that. Now, I told you already that I was the executive director of 9 schools over 3 years, right? And so I needed a way to look at the school as a whole, to look at all of the single data points at one time. Okay. Now, I also needed a way to create common language around school success because I couldn't do it by myself. One of the schools that I walked into, actually, everybody went on strike on day one, right? So I needed common language, I needed how to build trust, and I needed a way to prioritize and empower others to improve their school. So as a leader, right, you have a main job, right? And one of the main jobs is to identify problems. Now, every school has 3 problems, right? Or I'm sorry, every school has common problems, right? But what you want to do as a leader, you need to ensure that your common problems do not turn into crucial problems because crucial problems turn into critical problems. And like Hannah's point earlier, she's right on, right? If I don't address the common problem, they're going to become crucial and they're going to become critical, which has massive, massive consequences, right? So strategic leaders, again, strategic leaders know and understand their job is to identify the common problem and solve them before they become crucial or critical problems, right? If you don't take anything down, take that down, right? Identify common problems and solve them before they become crucial or critical. Well, how do I do that, Tom? Well, strategic leaders, they root out the cause of the problem. They don't just put a Band-Aid on a current common problem. They physically identify what is causing this ultimate problem to have, and they put a proven strategy, right, that not only they can carry out, but people on their team can carry out to ensure this problem does not continue to grow and permeate and disrupt culture in at your school and turn into a crucial problem or a critical problem. Easy example, every charter school has this issue. This is a common problem, student attrition. Not every student who enrolls in your school stays all the way 185 days. They don't, right? I don't know of any school, maybe there's one on the planet that doesn't lose anybody, right? But it's a common problem, right? So, less than 5% is what we identified as okay. 3 or less is outstanding, right? Because you don't want to lose the kids that you have been investing in over and over and over again. So the issue is, right, most schools will replace those students. So if I had 200 students at the start of the year and I lost 8 kids, I have kids on my wait list, I replace them. So the board and everybody says, oh, we still have 200 kids, right? But if they're not paying attention to the percent of attrition, this is when common problems turn into crucial problems. If my attrition, Lauren and I and our team and our research have found, if student attrition raises above 7 to 8%, we start to see a significant decrease in academic overall scores, resources, time, money, energy, and reputation. That school no longer is a high performing school, right? It is a common school where a lot of people just go in and out and they do not stay. If the leader does not address the root cause of the student attrition, okay, the root cause of the student attrition, and we'll talk about how to do that, right? It becomes a critical problem. So when I used to have a wait list years ago when my school was fresh, the older my school gets and the lack of evolution and the change, I don't have a lot of people on my wait list, or maybe I got a lot of competition and other charter schools have moved in. So the lack of students to replace that attrition reduces enrollment, which reduces cash flow. And then the fiscal imbalance puts funding on things like the facility, right, rather than the programs and the people. Now I've got to pay for the hard, costs at a higher level, which is increasing the percentage of money going towards things that don't improve my school. And as a result, if you don't pay closer attention, you will eventually either run out of money, right, or not be able to function because now you are annually reducing staffing, you're reducing professional development, you're reducing those programs that may have been mission based because you can't afford to stay open. And here's a great example. And it specifically said it in the actual article as enrollment and state aid plummeted at a Boston charter school, operating losses mounting, and the school closed after 20 years of operation. In fact, it just happened this week in North Carolina. If you want to take a look, there was a school voted to be closed after 20 years of operation that was in Durham for the same reason. You look at their data points, they've had decreased enrollment over the last 3 years, and which as a result, their fund balance has continued to go down and down. And academically, they have been a D or an F the majority of their existence. Okay. Now, yes, that school is going to ultimately close at the end, right? And they may look at all these other reasons, but the main reason was their lack of strategic leadership. They didn't understand the secret of strategic leadership and how to continue evaluate and improve all those areas so they could continue to perform at a high level, right? So to kind of sum that up, strategic leaders know and understand that their job is to identify the common problems and solve them before they become crucial or critical problems. So what Lauren and I created is our wheel of success. You have a wheel of success in your book. There is a wheel of success in the drive that Lauren just shared with you that you can download. Now, what this wheel of success is that each one of these 10 indicators is, if you can imagine, a spoke of your wheel. And if one of the spokes is weak or is shorter than the others, and you're riding your bike, you are going to be on a bumpy ride for sure. So we needed a way to quickly assess and create a visual dashboard for everybody to see and have a conversation around performance, right? So each one of these spokes is one of the 10 indicators, right? And your book has a section about each of these 10 indicators: clear and sustained mission, all the way through indicator 10, effective governance. There's also an assessment, which many of you took already. We're going to give you guys feedback on it individually. So thank you for taking the time to do it. But there's an assessment tool for each. It takes less than 10 minutes. And within 10 minutes, you could have your entire team take this assessment and score your wheel and have a great conversation. So the outer edge of the wheel, right, is what your school would look like, feel like, and operate if everyone and everything were operating at its best level. Think about this, right? It's your mental model of perfection. It's your strategic vision of the future. And if everything and everyone's at their best, the wheel's going to run smooth and balanced, right? It's going to easily go down any any hill or up any hill or down any hill. Now, when you take your assessment and you score your wheel, okay, and this is our current scores. Over 780 responses have taken our assessment, and Lauren has created this wheel to demonstrate the average of those responses. You're going to see that not everybody feels that their wheel is fully balanced. So this wheel, if we rolled this wheel, down a hill with its multiple, gaps, this wheel is going to balance. It's not going to run smoothly. Now, what words would you describe if the outside of the wheel is perfection, mental model of perfection, it's your strategic vision forward, and then the inside color is your current reality? What would you call, use it in your chat, what would you describe these white spaces? What would you call them? What words would you use to describe these strategic gaps? Is what Lauren and I call them, strategic gaps. But what words would you use to describe them in your organization, in the chat?
We've got areas of growth coming in, goals, opportunities.
Yes.
Goals, opportunities, everything like that. And I do just want to add real quickly, Tom, you mentioned that everyone here has probably taken our assessment, but We also usually will encourage schools to have all of your non-instructional team take the assessment so that
Yep.
you can have a really global idea of your organization as a whole, not just you know, as a principal or your view as the board member. You know, that's a great starting point to start having those conversations. But we make comprehensive wheels where we average your school's
Mhm.
data all together to give you an overview of what the organization looks like.
Yeah, I love it. Lauren, what were some of the words that this really smart group of people used? I heard
Areas of
opportunities.
growth,
Yes, perfect.
goals, opportunities.
Yeah. I told you that this group was the smartest, Lauren. You didn't think so, but I told you that, right? So there's consequences of not addressing those strategic gaps, right? There are consequences, and I just pointed them out, right? Finances, reputation, right? Those are our larger consequences if I don't address these strategic gaps that I've easily identified. And Lauren just told you. Like, take the assessment, make your wheel, or we'll help you make one. Have a sit down conversation about, hey, well, you scored us a 4 out of 5, and you gave a 5 out of 5, or you gave a 2 out of 5. Like, let's talk about that so we can. That's how we create that common language around that, right? So, with the gaps identified, you as the leader can focus your time and energy to strategically close that gap through proven strategies that work. This is not rocket science, everybody. I'm really not that bright. 700 on my SATs. Who knows what my IQ is? But I can understand this, right? If I have a destination that I want to get to and I know where I am, that's why I use my phone. I just type in the address of where I'm going and then I type in the address of where I am, and it creates me a map. This is very, very similar process, okay? Similar process that any of you can follow and continue to follow until, right, your wheel starts to get more balanced. And what's going to happen is that the better your school performs, the more your vision's going to expand, and you're going to see that you can do more and more and more. So to sum up, the book and the wheel, right? They do these things. One, they're going to help you create a vision for the future. Two, they're going to identify the current reality. Three, they'll create a common language for everybody to be having a conversation around. It's a progress monitor tool, so you can do the wheel multiple times throughout the year. Uh, the book gives you proven strategies for improvement. And lastly, it's going to help your growth as a strategic leader, and it's going to future-proof your charter school. So 20 years from now, it's going to continue to create the headlines that you desire, not the headlines that you dread. Now, this is the easiest way I could describe this. Now, for you younger folks, this is a mall. Not everybody has probably been to a mall. Most malls are not here anymore. But if I wanted to go to Macy's, right? There's two important things I need to know. Where's Macy's? Because I need some new socks. And where am I? So imagine the outside of your wheel is Macy's. The inside of your wheel is the red dot, right? That's the current reality. And now I can clearly find my direction towards Macy's. And that's what you're looking to do as a strategic leader is create clarity in the destination, have a tool to evaluate our current reality, right? And the confidence and the know-how to build a strategic plan, a skinny strategic plan, 2, 3, 4 action steps maybe to get from here to there, right? Give me a thumbs up or a yes if that makes sense. And we'll finally get to the book. They're like, oh, come on, Tom, finally. Like I came in here for a conversation about the book, not that. But I wanted to make sure that's really important context, Lauren, right? That that we wanted to talk about. And in fact, actually, Lauren, I skipped this one, part here. Um,
Yeah.
with the consequences of not addressing strategic gaps, we had talked about right here, hey, what if I'm great at finances, indicator 7, right? Uh, but the consequence, if I got $2.5 million in the bank, but I might not be actually using it to, develop people, right? Or I may have a low salary scale, or right, because of my facility cost, I can't do all these other things, right? So, Lauren, you had an example too of like maybe one part of your wheel is really strong, but on the other end, it creates a weakness in another part of your wheel.
Yeah, we had just kind of talked about what do these strategic gaps look like in reality in some of the schools that we have been serving over the years. And one example that came to mind was just, let's say you have this really clear mission and vision of the school. You've got your model that you're implementing. But let's say your stakeholders haven't quite bought in, and those stakeholders might be your parents. Um, and as you continue with that same group of parents, they might try to pull you further and further away from that mission and vision. And so you might start to see that over the years, let's say one year your mission was really strong, but the next year, all of a sudden your ranking has dipped because you've stepped away from your mission. Same thing with your teachers. If they're not buying into the model of your school, you can see the same thing happen, or maybe you're starting to have high teacher turnover. So your other indicators are starting to dip. So that's just what some of those gaps that we have seen could look like in your school building and the consequences that they have.
Yeah. And the last one I'll share is this, right? Indicators 8 and 9 are all about operations and compliance. They're very tangible, and that's probably why they're always so high. Versus our indicators, 2, 3, and 4 around academics and student performance and oversight and people development. And folks will spend a lot of time ensuring compliance. Now, if they spent the same amount of time ensuring academic, excellence, the results might be different. And when someone argued with me, I said, gosh, I'd rather be an A in academics and a C in compliance rather than an A in compliance and a C in academics, right? So you need balance. You need strengths on your team that can help each one of these indicators grow and perform at a very high level. That's why we've got areas for organizational mission and vision, but we also have, strategic leadership team and professional development and school culture and parent engagement and fiscal vitality and operations and overall governance. It's everything has to be strong in order for the school to perform at a high level. So, well, let's spend the rest of our time diving into the book. So we're only talking about chapter 1 today, which is a clear and sustained mission and vision. And we started the book by asking this question, right? If your charter school disappeared, would anybody miss it, right? Would people really truly understand? And this is a great question to bring to your leadership team, to bring to your staff meetings, right? Having the evidences of what impact it makes. Now, I told you earlier I was going to give you a strategy to help identify and root out the cause of your student attrition. And this is it. Lauren, in our climate surveys that we do for schools, has a great question, right? 2 of them actually. She asks all families, why did you choose the school? And then she also asks them, what's the second question, Lauren?
Why do you stay?
Why do you stay? That's exactly right. And if I have alignment, right, between my mission and my vision, right, and why they chose me and why they continue to stay, that helps me focus on what they value. If my answers are different, I've got a misalignment. Something's wrong, whether it's with my marketing or kind of where I am or who people think we are. And it's the same question for the staff. You could ask the staff the same thing. Hey, why did you choose to work here? Why do you stay, right? So too many times boards and leaders, they're like, we got to do exit interviews. And yeah, those are important. But Lauren and I believe that a stay interview is way more powerful and going to give you better information than all of your exit interviews, okay? So answering that question, if your charter school disappeared, would anybody miss it? And when you have, clarity and sustainability, school leaders can lead with consistency. If I'm not clear about where I'm going, I'm just kind of, making decisions on a whim, right? With no strategy. And sadly, we see that a lot. So there's 3 sub-indicators for indicator 1, right? The clear and sustained mission. The first one is that the mission's inspiring, easy to understand, and easily communicated to all stakeholders. And so there's an easy mission review on page 20 and also in the resources that Lauren gave you. If you go into the indicator 1 folder, you'll see the whole mission and vision exercise. But this is, just a quick one. So in the chat, let us know, would you answer yes to all of these 8 questions. Is it short? Does everyone know it? Can you train around it? Does it define you? Will it take you in the right direction? Does it inspire passion? Does it say how you want to be remembered and have you revisited in the last 3 years? You gotta, if you can say yes to all those, you're in great shape. If it's no, especially no to more than one, then highly recommend take the mission exercise and do it this upcoming week with your staff. We got any yeses, Lauren?
Not yet, but I did just drop the resources in the chat again.
Okay, great. Yeah.
If you joined us a little bit later.
Yeah, and this is something I do with my staff every single year, because I, as an incoming executive director, had to have a better understanding of the school's mission. And that mission exercise is really fun to do because you can do it in small round tables and you can like have them pull out like words, like what words resonate with you and what does this look like? And do we have any evidences of that we're actually mission based at our school? We get any yeses? All right. That's okay. You don't have
Yes,
to put it
we've
in.
got a couple
Okay,
yeses.
good. Great.
No to more than one.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, so that's an easy way to be looking at your mission. And then we gave some examples of some, missions in businesses, and then there's some charter school mission examples there too. So again, great, easy exercise for you guys to do, or as you're reading the book as a team to just have that conversation. Lauren, let's
Hey, can
talk.
I
Yeah,
stop you for a second?
sure. Yeah, please do.
I know that, a lot of charter schools right now are entering into lottery season.
Mm,
I think a common problem that we've been hearing in our inner circle groups lately has been just student population. We're not getting the students that we are aiming to serve.
yeah.
And I just think this is a really great reminder for everybody of education around your school's mission and vision, so that you are educating those prospective students on your school and what you want to do.
Yeah, what a great point. And indicator 6, that's one of the sub indicators. When we're talking about a highly engaged parent base, one of the sub indicators is that there's regular opportunities to educate the parents on mission and vision, who you are, why you exist, and where are you going. And it's actually 50-50. So of the 780 people that have responded, 390 have said, no, we don't have those. And so what a great, easy opportunity to do 2 things. One is to educate them, right? To make sure they're in the right place. But 2, when you do that, you're creating more vision carriers and vision casters in your community, right? And that comes through, branding, right? That's actually where we're heading, right? It comes through branding. It comes through just other people talking about your school. And if you haven't at this time asked your stakeholders to help you recruit, then you're missing a big opportunity because your best marketers are going to be the relationship builders that already exist in your school. And to do that, they have to have an understanding of why your school exists and where they're heading and what makes it special, what makes it unique compared to any other school. Because remember, it takes families a lot of trust to come and choose you, especially if you're new. So you want to create certainty, and you can create certainty by educating your vision carriers and casters about your mission and your vision. And one way to do it, right, is to document it thoroughly and around the school and ensure that there's consistent teacher practices and curriculum and academic focus. So this is one of the questions in the mission exercise is what are some evidences that our mission is alive and it exists and that we're actually doing it. So you can display it throughout the school. Is one way. You could do it in every classroom, every hallway. Could be on more than your website, right? Handouts and memos. I usually use it every time I send a memo out, I remind the families what our mission and vision are, and here's kind of what we're doing to do those pieces. It should not just be words that are seanced at a board meeting, but they should be, mission-driven decisions and talking how this action is going to drive us closer to that. Here's Brevard Academy, which is a great charter school in Transylvania. Has a lot of their stuff up on their walls that we found during our inner circle visits as well. So regular communication should be part of your orientation and your onboarding. Every year I have Kim Mixon, who's one of our founders, and she's our middle school principal right now. I want her to tell the story about how the school came about, how it was just this little tiny learning cottage right outside the beach. And that every year that she does it, I learn more and more about the story, right? So I love that. So more people got to be able to tell the stories, meetings and assemblies, newsletters, and then your training, right? How are you ensuring that there's training around your mission? So, great examples we'll talk about a little bit, but you can say, hey, I'm a STEM school, or I'm a STEAM school, or I'm an art school, or I'm a Montessori school. Well, how are you ensuring, right? Do all of your teachers have Montessori training or arts training? Do they know what that looks like? So here's just a reflection question, right? How can you take your mission and vision, ensure that they're the driving points of all decisions? Thinking on that. The last sub indicator is what I just said, that they're the driving points, right? And so how can you do that, or how maybe are you doing that already? If anybody wants to raise a hand and share, we can do it, and Lauren can unmute you. But for me, like I built a and we could share this out actually, Lauren. I built a like a packet, kind of here we are, here's where we're going. I would consider it like a giant marketing packet, and it has every single aspect of the school, because I believe, and we're about to talk about vision, I believe that this mission and vision, it's like a 25-page, document in a sense, right? It's the filter in which all decisions are made. So when a big decision comes about a new program or how to spend money or things we need, I want to filter it through that packet, right? How does this decision, how does this action, how does this program take us closer to our end goal, right? Does it align with our mission, right? And is it going to take us closer to our vision, which is our destination? Okay. Lauren, we have any hands up to share? Or anything in the chat?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
All right. So let's talk about vision then, right? So mission is why we exist, right? It's the why we exist, but your vision is, it's your destination point, right? It's where are we going? It's what are we looking to achieve? And so simply put, for a strategic leader, vision is clarity. And without vision, people perish. Now they won't literally perish. They'll just become disengaged and start to worry, and they're unsure. And that's where you just start to get kind of pockets of balkanized cultures, and just areas that aren't lined up to what you're trying to achieve. But by having a clear and compelling vision of the future, right, it sparks motivation, drives direction, while guides the daily strategy and the decision making of everybody on your team. Having a clear vision helps create meaning to your daily tasks, right? Everybody wakes up knowing exactly what's my role to the goal, right? So it looks like this. If you've got clarity in your vision creates your long-term goals, which can be broken down into annual goals, which are broken down into quarterly goals or benchmarks or objectives, and drive the daily action. So if I make, Lauren and I help, schools make 90-day plans. I mean, that's what it is. It's like, well, what is it ultimately that you're trying to achieve? Right? What would success look like at the end? Okay. And then what are the actions? Like, well, we don't, part of the biggest issue with, organizational strategic leadership is that we, create these big, massive, strategic plans that nobody can even like understand, or they're too big to really pay attention to, or monitor. So like if you got a vision of where you're going, you could build small, skinny strategic plans, 90-day plans to help you get from here to there, and just take those small steps. And what most importantly it does, it helps your team connect the daily dots, right? Is this, and they can ask themselves, is the task that I'm working on right now going to take me closer to that goal? It's such a critical critical point, right? Everybody wants to feel successful and be successful. Everybody wants to know that they're in a role that's going to make them successful. But to do that, I need to be able to have clarity in the destination point, right? And then what's my current reality so I can take making some action steps. So here's some examples. So you'll be asked this question. We would love to share yours, but the last book study, we had a couple schools, share with us just exciting news, right? How they were sharing their mission and their purpose around. So Brevard shot out a social media post. Amy from CSD took some pictures of their original mission and vision, and then Robin Hollis at ArtSpace sent us this video. This was part of a training they had at the start of the school year.
20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120.
Yeah, and you can clearly tell that's an arts-based school. It's in Winston-Salem. Everything they do has an art, like instructional model around it. So here were a bunch of teachers and the principal, Robin was in there, right? Demonstrating the instructional methods during a staff meeting. And so it's important, to have clarity around how your mission and vision, right? What are the tangible evidences that they exist in your school? So, before we open up one more time, Lauren and I just wanted to take you through the common, crucial, and critical points of not having a clear and sustained mission. So as Lauren shared, and Lauren, let's, do this together. The common problem, right, is that not all stakeholders are educated on the school's mission and vision. This is pretty common. You got lots of people at your school who don't know your mission. They're just glad not to be somewhere else, right? They may have run from somewhere, but you're hoping, right, to make them a believer, right, in your mission. And then the crucial problem, right, comes when, because they're not educated, not all your programs are aligned with your mission, your vision, and your purpose, causing complaints, frustration, confusion, resource allocation, withdrawals, or even retention issues. And so Lauren and I hear this a lot. And so we'll do, Lauren just did one recently. She does a great job of hosting round table conversations with staffs, and I did one too. And it was interesting, Lauren, right? Like the one I did, I was so interested in hearing how many teachers said, I love the mission. I love it. And I was like, okay, I didn't even know what the mission was. And so part of the issue is because the charter school leader turnover is so high, the average tenure is less than 3 years in North Carolina, where we did this research at. The school's slowly drifting away from its original mission and vision. And so as a result, I watched these teachers like really want to be here. They fell in love with the mission, but however, leadership no longer really had that understanding of what the mission was. Do you have an example too, Lauren?
Sure. I was just going to share at my former school, kind of where we saw this, bringing in the complaints and the frustration and the confusion. We were a STEM school, but really we weren't really a STEM school until you really started fourth grade. That's when some of the academic teams opened up more for the kids. More elective courses were definitely offered in the middle school, and our stakeholders started calling us out on it. You say you're a STEM school, but where's the STEM in the elementary?
Yeah.
And so we really needed to look through that lens to review all of our programs. And we found, we're offering Spanish as an elective to our elementary kids, but there's no real path. We're not a Spanish, immersion school. Why are we doing that? So eventually we phased that program out and we had a STEM elective, and there we have it. We bought a program. Now our kindergartners are doing STEM, on a weekly basis. It was a PLTW program that they could then continue that path all the way through middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And it really just helped align our mission for our school.
Yeah. And Lauren just made me think of another piece. And I don't know where the Spanish, program came from, right? And we don't need to call anybody out. But here's what I've heard happen, or happens, not at that school. somebody will read an article and have a good idea. Says, "Oh my gosh, I just read an article says that 90% of kids who take Mandarin Chinese by third grade end up, growing up, to be doctors and lawyers." And someone's like, "Oh, okay, that's a good idea. We should just start doing Mandarin Chinese, right?" But if there's nobody with like that, 25-page packet, be like, "Oh, where does Mandarin Chinese fit into our mission and vision?" It's a good idea. It's just not our idea, right? It doesn't need to be our idea. And I think that's important. That's why I said you got to filter decisions through that really important, whether it's a manifesto, a vision statement, a one page or whatever it is, because otherwise you get misalignment with your programs that, people will question in private, right, Lauren? But they won't bring it to the leadership, right? It took for you guys to do some climate surveys or some asking some, families what they like or don't like. And they said, yeah, why do we have Spanish? It doesn't line up to our STEM, right? So great examples, STEM with no STEM, arts with no arts, or maybe being a little Montessori. And that was an example that I think I shared in the book, but it was a school I was in charge of. And I found out that less than half of the teachers had any Montessori experience or training. And so I found a Montessori expert and said, hey, this is kind of the schools, they don't really invest in their teachers to get Montessori trained. And she said, Tom, being a little Montessori is like being a little pregnant. So you're either all in or not. And it's really important that your mission and your vision lines up to everything you do. So if I'm not a strategic leader, I've been rooted out the cause, right? Now I'm in a crucial problem where I got people leaving and a lot of misalignment, and I'm spending money on the wrong things. The critical problem is that the staff and the student retention can be impacted, and through the turnover, or maybe even a complete change in education philosophy done poorly, this can create massive exodus or loss of key partners. And with that school that I was just referring to in Durham, they actually did a whole name change, but it didn't help, right? Because everything inside culturally stayed the same. And so that's really important, right? That you address mission and vision issues right away, and take the time to educate your stakeholders, because when you confuse people, you can lose people. Um, critical part. So Lauren shared with you your mission exercise. That's your homework for this week. Download it, print it. At minimum, do it yourself. A little bit better would be doing it with your leadership team or maybe some of your board members over the next week until we come back, together. And if you haven't done so, take the time to score your wheel of success. Print out your wheel of success, download it, get the rest of your team to take it online. It prints out in a nice, easy document, or maybe some of you have this little handbook that came with your book. There's lots of ways to take your assessment, or reach out to Lauren and she'll say, hey, tell me who took the assessment on your team. We'll look at the scores and we'll take the time to make you a wheel. So we'll open it up now. Let me see here. If anybody has any questions or
I'm also
something.
just gonna drop in the chat, Tom, the digital link to our assessment. If
Yeah,
you
that-
don't have a copy
works.
of it,
Sure. Yeah.
that's the link you can send out to your team
Yeah,
if you want to do the digital version.
Yeah. So we'll hang on. If anybody had a certain part of the book that they liked, or had a question that they wanted to ask about, or clarity piece, this is the time for some Q&A. You can all unmute yourself if you want.
I'll just say thank you for the time. I have done my survey and had my two deans do theirs. So I'm working on my wheel and I'm excited about that.
Great.
Dr. Brown and I are going to connect next week about those and compare as well, since we're at the same school, just K-12. And yeah, I hope I get my book this weekend, but we'll see. And I'm excited. So thank you for the time.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kristen. And I think one of the most exciting things to do is when you get your wheel, and if everybody's mapped out their own, it just creates a conversation. And when Lauren and I, did it, it's like, everybody's score of the outside wheel is going to be different. and that's fine. The point is actually sitting down and having conversations around what success looks like.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of it, right? Do we have the resources, to do it? And if you guys are in North Carolina, or you're always welcome to, we lead site visits. So we do every quarter, we do a best practice site, visit at a school. This not this Monday, but the Monday after, we'll be at Cornerstone Academy, which is in Greensboro. I had, school leaders down in Santa Rosa Beach. But one of the things that's real, if you've got a real successful school around you, just go, visit them and walk around. And that's where you're going to expand your vision and ask them the questions, how are you doing this? What's the program you use, or what's your training around it? Same thing we do in the inner circle. So first of all, give yourself a pat on the back just for taking the assessment and actually doing it. Because that's just the first step, right? Good intentions is, coming to the session, or, buying the book, but intentional action is where you're going to really build into that, strategic leader. So thank you.
Yeah, I had to cut my deans off. We've already started down the conversation path, and like they had to be set, like, we have other things to do today, guys, but
Yeah.
we will revisit, of course.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's, creating common language, and excitement, right? And also, everybody, this is for everybody. There's two really important parts of this. Don't always worry about the how are we going to do it. That's not important right now, right? The why are we doing it is always the most important piece. What do we want to achieve? The how will come. We can figure out how to do things. But also, like, it's going to take time. Designing and leading a high performing school takes time, right? But it only takes an instant to sometimes lose. So you got to be, you're building a team of sustained success over and over and over. So I think that's just really important. Watching charter schools over the last 13, 14 years, some schools were at the top of the mountain. And all of a sudden they found themselves kind of like looking up at other people. And so it's that constant evolution, right? That you need to do and be thinking about as a leader that will constantly keep you at the top. That's the hard part. And that's honestly why 40% fail after year 10. They just don't evolve. And for some of you, if you remember Kodak, there was a day, some people don't actually believe me, but there was a day where you had to take a picture and you had this film, and you had to go drive it to this booth, and you gave it to this booth, and 3 to 5 days later, they gave you an envelope, and you looked at the picture and said, oh God, that picture is awful. We said that like a couple weeks ago in a training, and someone's like, you're making that up. I said, no, honestly, you had no idea, right? And Kodak they had 90% of the market, and they had the technology to build digital photography, and they chose not to do it. And tell me the last time you saw Kodak anything anywhere, right? So there's lots of stories out there in the business world around that. You got Kodak, you got MySpace, you got Blockbuster, right? There's groups that just refused to grow. And charter schools are businesses. If you're the head of the school, you're a CEO of a multi-million-dollar enterprise, and you need to act like one and think like one. And that's how you become a strategic leader. So sorry, I was on my soapbox for a minute. Lauren,
I just wanted to point out real quick, if you have not received your book, I put in there our preview link of the book, and it does include chapter 1. So feel free to send that out to anyone on your team who might not have the book yet. They will at least have access to that first chapter.
Yeah, great. Any more questions, anybody?
I'll just echo Kristen's compliment. I'm a big fan of what you guys do, and is getting more and more close to your framework. I think not only is it really solid content, but that common language to be able to have conversations across stakeholders, because none of this works unless you can get alignment. And the way that you go through it and have the conversations and you're capturing information and moving along, it can't be underestimated how important it is to have some sort of methodology that you're going to go through to become a strategic school. And I just really value what you guys have. So thanks for putting the book together and having these introductory sessions so people can start to get closer to it.
Great. Thanks, David. Greatly appreciate you all too. We're really excited of the growth and what's heading in the future of your school as well.
Yep.
Always
Cool.
fun. It's always fun.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Well, have an amazing rest of your day and enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you next Friday. Lauren, right? We're doing chapters 2 or indicators 2 and 3. It's probably chapters 3 and 4. I have no idea. But indicators 2 and 3, which is really focusing on the quality work of the school and the quality work of the student. This is all focused on your academic plan. So if you got someone who's part of your academic team that you can, break away for the hour, get them on the call, and have those conversations around those areas. So have an amazing day. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.